Uh, right. Here we are. It's 15 minutes late, and we shouldn't be 15 minutes late. So let's catch up with the way that we would normally start this program and pretend that we're not 15.
Hello and welcome to Mirador Television. We are the biggest little TV in the world, based in Lewes, East Sussex in England. Our aim is to entertain and to spice things up a little. We will also keep an eye on the local politics, because let's face it, someone has to. Our programs range from stories about the local people to stories about people from all the way across the pond. Brought to you by our wonderful colleagues in New York. So why not sit back, relax with your favourite cuppa, or maybe your favourite tipple, and enjoy. This is Mirador Television.
It's a sunny day at the moment. But no.
When it goes wrong, it all goes wrong. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear me. Well, basically, I'm moving. I'm moving house, and it's all very, very fraught, and it gets to me from time to time. So I get very impatient with all sorts of things, and I got impatient this morning and hit the wrong button, and started off as usual mouthing things, ah, blah, 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 with nobody listening except me. I had to go back and restart everything, which means uploading videos and so on and so forth. So by the time you actually get around to it, you've lost 5 minutes or so. So I do apologize that we started late this morning. It's all my fault. Mea culpa. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear me. And if I was working for the BBC, they'd have fired me. Luckily, I'm not. I'm working for Mirador Television, and we thrive on this sort of cock up. All sorts of people make it, and I have to say that it makes it fun still working in television because there are many things that aren't fun anymore, and lockdown has been one of them. And what really was upsetting me is that everywhere in the country seems to have celebrated. I mean, in some instances, people went to their favorite pub and at 1 minute past midnight, were delving in. They sat outside as they should, sometimes shivering a bit, but they had a pint because they hadn't been able to have one in those sort of circumstances for quite some time. So the whole country is celebrating, but in Lewes, I couldn't find a pub open. Now, I didn't walk to the other end of the town, but down at the end that our studio is in, which is known as the Cliff area and Lower School Hill, nary a pint to be seen, even though we've got the brewery in our patch here. And it was, to say the least, a downside type thing. I bumped into a couple of pals who are known for their tipple, and I said, you know, any sign of any pubs open, and they made a couple of guesses. But it's May the 17th, and most pubs have chosen to open. Paul Fowle, who normally would be with me this morning, is a bit poorly. God bless him. I think you should all know that he had a pretty serious operation. Well, just prior to lockdown, and so his recovery rate is not the fastest, but he's brave enough to come on and do his bit on our television thing. And when it strikes, everybody, I'm sure, will forgive him, and we can pass on everybody's good wishes if you've got that sort of a good wish to pass on. And let's see, Gary Toynton, good and faithful viewer, is good morning. I hope I had a good drink yesterday. The unfortunate answer is, Gary, is no, I didn't, and I'm pretty pissed off about it. And whether, in fact, I'll find anywhere today, I don't know. But of course, the economic situation is that the pub sector has been screaming that it's losing money and calling for Boris to lift the lockdown. Is so why is it taking a month to get back into shape? I just do not understand it. I mean, not only is it disappointing people, but surely the economics, if they were under stress, is the moment that they can start to take a shekel or two over the bar. One would have thought they would have done so. Anyway, COVID continues to dominate the headlines. We're 3 days ahead, apparently, on getting everybody over 50 the jab. We are better than almost every other country in the world. We really have done a superb job on this, despite all the criticisms of the government, and they haven't been particularly good at that. Locally, I'm going to let Stephen Catlin tell you what he thinks about the situation, but he echoes something that has bothered me for quite some time, and that is that government, whether it be national or whether it be local, are far from forthcoming with information, and that really does bother me. So let's see what Stephen has to say about that. Come on, Stephen.
It's a sunny day at the moment in Lewes, just when one thought the Lewes work from homers would be out in the outdoor coffee areas, doing their work, of course, certainly not socializing and talking on Facebook. But no, two of the very big ones in Friars Walk, Fuego and Hickson Green, are not open. Now, the notice on Fuego says open on the 3rd of opening on the 3rd of December, omitting to say which year. But I hear that it will reopen on the 17th of May. That's Fuego. Hickson Green is a law unto itself, as frequenters of the place know only too well. The fascia sign has been taken down, and there is no indication of when it will reopen, or even if. Otherwise, it's nice to see queues outside the shop, almost as though food rationing and clothes rationing has come back in. Anyway, life is, well, I won't say it's returning to normal, because I get very much the impression that the mood of the country has changed, and things to which we used to defer are not those which affect us so much anymore, because during this 18-month or so period, we have had our own problems which are consuming our thoughts. Anyway, moving swiftly on, as much as one can when one reaches advanced years, but it's interesting to note that Lewes District Council is as evasive as ever in answering questions. There was a great announcement in the local newspaper a couple of weeks or so ago about £1 million investment in a solar farm and all the rest of it. So I wrote to the lead member at the district council asking if one may, since one pays one's council tax, be privileged to know where it will be. No answer. And that was a week ago. And I also asked what happened to the Ovesco scheme pre-2016 to have a powerhouse in Mountfield Road, Lewes, connected with the Priory School and the college. Government money was invested in it, but what actually happened was my answer, was my question. Do you know, they haven't even told me that. Same time, public toilets in Pinwell Road seem not to be open, and they don't seem to have been open for a few days. So I wrote to the relevant department at the district council asking for information. Yeah, stock reply, or we haven't enough full staff at the moment. No, but there is no lessening of our charges because of that, is there? So generally, I have a feeling of disappointment that the world has changed, but sadly our expectations of it have not kept pace with the changes. I will leave you with that thought and hope the week gets better for all of us. Thanks for your time. Goodbye now.
Now, that disturbing little chat behind Stephen, I must apologise for, because that's me. I took a phone call, and instead of saying, "Look, can you call back in 5 minutes or 10 minutes?" I started to chat on it, and I now know, because we've got an open plan studio here, that you just simply can't do that. Otherwise, the microphones do pick it up. So apologies both to Stephen and to the viewers, and also, I suppose, to the person that called, because I was trying to be sotto voce. Me, sotto voce. Yes, pigs may fly. Anyway, there's something that really is bothering all of us, I think, and that Stephen highlights is either information is not forthcoming from governments, and really they have a responsibility to let us know, let us, the electors, know what's going on, and they're not doing a very good job at it. And when they do try to do something, it's 9 times out of 10, one, the right hand doesn't seem to know what the left hand is saying, and there is contradictory statements all over the place until in the end we haven't a clue what's happening. But just while we're talking about lock up, is, as I said, I'm very disappointed. But generally speaking, I'm out of kilter with the country on this one, because the other headlines are joy as beauty salons reopen after lockdown. Well, I'm sure that everybody is. And indeed, my own hairdresser, Andrew, has opened up. He's got his own new shop. By golly, he's his own boss, which is absolutely wonderful for him. And congratulations, Andrew. And for those people who wonder where he is, well, he moved literally about 10 yards to a little place next door. So he's still on a Market Street, and he's so busy he can't see me. my first appointment that I could get, even though I'm a very good customer, a regular customer, my first appointment I could get was next Monday. So in the meantime, I am still a shaggy dog. I won't make the appropriate comment. I'm a shaggy dog. Lockdown easing lifts everybody's spirits. But as Stephen says, not everybody's spirits were lifted, and there is still suspicion about where we're going to go and where we will be. And there are large queues outside Primark as the shops reopen. Well, I believe that there was some shops in Lewis where there were queues, particularly clothing shops and that sort of thing. But certainly the supermarkets were no different. I walked into one at 3 o'clock yesterday and didn't have to wait. And I didn't see any evidence of people queuing. And I did find somebody called Mary Waller has sent me a friend request. I'll take a look at that afterwards, Mary. And the pubs are very, very disappointing. And as I said, we'll take that up with Paul Fowle when he gets back on Thursday, because there's something that doesn't smell quite right about that. There's a big push to get the pubs open again, and when they can open, they don't. So one wonders why, and perhaps we try and get somebody from the brewery industry to explain to us, or from the pubs. Shop till we drop. Oh well, the rest of the country have got the money to do it. Perhaps we're all impoverished in Lewis. Who knows? The zoos are going to reopen, and that's wonderful. So things are happening, but they are also happening abroad. And there are a couple of things that are a bit um, disturbing. Is there are a record number of China jets entering Taiwan airspace. Now, so what's that all about? Well, the fact is that the Russians are still amassing troops on the Ukrainian border. And I have to say that much as I admire Russia and what they've done, and there are some terrific Russians, there really are. I've got a lot of friends in Russia, and I love them dearly, and they're terrific people. But their leadership can be a bit volatile. And if he's amassing troops, as I wouldn't believe for one moment if he says he's got not some sort of intent to have a military adventure. And so, if the Chinese are sending jets over Taiwan, what's that got to do with Lewis? Well, we're going to brace ourselves for the world getting into a little bit of a muddle militarily again. I mean, we've got the situation in Myanmar. That's tiny by comparison, but nonetheless, the military have taken over. And it doesn't look as if they have any intention of handing back to civil authority, despite what they said. They've turfed out the Myanmar ambassador from his residence in London. I mean, why these countries get us back into a mess after just coming through something like COVID, and it's hit Russia. And actually, as somebody said to me the other day, nobody will know the truth about China as how many people were killed or died as a result of COVID, and that in fact it's a country that doesn't actually pay much attention to life when it comes to the interests of the state. So things going on internationally that are a bit of a problem and a bit of a worry. Well, let's see what's happening with the weather here.
And if I'm wearing a bikini, it's hot. Not that you're going to see me in a bikini very often. The body's gone, you see. Not a pretty sight.
So there you are. Not a bad day. A bit of fluffy cloud around at some stage. But I just looked out at my favorite tree and it is still. So that the breeze isn't too heavy. It is light, as the experts say. And the sky at the moment is actually clear of cloud. Well, the sun over the horizon that might be drifting this way, but other than that, it's pretty good. And I must say that all in all, the weather prospects, well, it's not going to be roasting. Look as if they're quite good. Although, as somebody said today, they've been a bit like a toilet seat, up and down, all over the place. Cold, warm, cold, warm, and who can predict that sort of weather? It is 8:05, and one of their team, Susan Harris, God bless her, walks around Lewis at the most odd times to take nice photographs of the beautiful place in which we live. And we are very, very pleased that Susan gives us um, her the results of her photographic endeavors. So let's take a look at her, what she's got going. Beautiful and placid. Historic. Beautifully historic. Yes. Calm. Wonderful economy. Stylish. So there we are. That's a look at Lewis through the lens of Susan Harris. We'll perhaps try to play that again before we leave, because there's some wonderful scenes there. And Susan has been doing this for some time. So if you actually say that on average she shows 10 or 12 images every time, and we've done perhaps I don't know 20 programs using her photographs. There's 240 different views, and all of them beautiful. It just shows you how lucky we are to live in a town of this sort, which is not only historic, but quite lovely, and in many ways has retained a lot of its features. We talk about the high street. It actually has got a high street. It's not full of chain, a few now, but there are still some local stores and local people running them, and that is much to be desired. Um, so beautiful Lewis through the lens uh, of Susan Harris. Now let's just take a look at a couple of other things that are going for us. Is the UK exports to the EU have rebounded. Now there was a slump in January, and all the doomsayers would say, "Ah, yeah, well, Brexit and so on and so forth." But now we're dealing with the EU in a very vigorous way, and in the long run, it doesn't matter what politicians say. The market will drive. The market will say, this is what's going to happen. It's not us to tell the market what to do. The market tells us what to do. And I remember once talking when I was at Reuters, interviewing a chap from the intelligence economist unit, perhaps it was the economist intelligence unit. That's right. Who we were talking about how how powerful markets are, and he said that some Southeast Asian country had pegged its currency to try and stop market forces. And he said, he used a lovely phrase, the markets rose up and spanked them. In other words, they had a very, very difficult time for trying to put something like that into place. And we are the same in many ways. The markets will do what the markets will do. You can say to somebody in France, "Don't buy a British pullover," and if he can get his hands on them, he will. And we can say to somebody in Britain, "Don't buy champagne because they really usurp the name." Is of course we will if we want to. The markets have to be taken into account. So our trade has rebounded back to satisfactory levels. Now, of course, Harry is a big talking point. And somebody said, I'm getting a bit fed up of listening to Harry about what Harry will do and what Harry won't. And of course it is. It's sort of gossipy stuff, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is that he is, for us, still the Duke of Sussex. That's the title that hasn't been taken away from him. And there was a great deal of ho, 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 hum when he got it in the first place, because the title had lain dormant from about 175 years or so. And the last Duke of Sussex had been the son of, no, I've got to get the thing right, Prince George the Third, or is it George the Fourth, who had been the Prince Regent and Prinny, as he was known, and the man who famously used Lewis as his playground, and on one occasion drove a coach and four for a bet down Keir Street, which is a very, very steep street. So with the Sussexes, we have a strong relationship, and it was the son of King George who gave the title to his son Prince Augustus. I think Prince Augustus, Ferdinand Augustus, or the other way around, Augustus Ferdinand. And after that, it was never passed on because Augustus died without children. And in fact, there's a bit of a love story there. He married twice, and both times they were declared illegal because he hadn't asked his father's permission. And anybody in the royal family needed to ask if they could marry somebody, because if not, it became an illegal marriage. Oh my goodness me! Are there 1,000 stories in the Naked City? This is just one of them. So Prince Harry is still a Duke of Sussex, and therefore, I suppose we must take a much more greater interest in his comings and goings. But certainly, it does seem as if the royal family are beginning to pull together some of the differences, because there are plenty of differences. Prince Andrew has been a naughty boy, and now Harry has been a naughty boy, and you name it. There are a few others. Sarah Ferguson, of course, was a naughty girl, and, and I suppose going back, Princess Margaret wasn't exactly a saint. So yes, it's had its turmoil, but as I say, my argument is we are a constitutional monarchy. We'll get good and we'll get bad. And we're very lucky, I think, to have had the Queen, who has turned out to be a very intelligent woman, has taken her job seriously as monarch and head of a constitutional monarchy. And as a consequence, we've had a relatively stable governance far longer than any other country in the world. Quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. So before we actually rush to be Republicans and replace with an elected one, think very carefully what we're giving up. All right. What should? Well, I think we better just say thank you to those people who look after us and have looked after us in the bad times, as it were. And if I may say so, one of the things about Mirador Television was we never closed. We didn't shut down during COVID. And the strange thing is that this government, with the perversity that it can only demonstrate, is it looked around and said, who kept going? Well, if you kept going, you must have been earning. Let's give money to everybody that's shut down. And everybody that's shut down got cash for doing nothing. Whereas we kept going because, in many ways, we are a vital service. Either we bring a chuckle to your face or we pass on information which is useful. or we just keep you up to date with the news headlines. It doesn't matter what you get out of it. We never closed, and as a consequence, we were fingered by the government and got absolutely no help at all until this very last series of COVID assistance. And I'm not talking about all these bounce back loans and all that sort of stuff. No, we have got in the stock a little bit of a grant from the local government, and it comes at a good time because we would have been forced to have given up if not. Anyway, there we go. There we go. I was going to say thank you to people, and I think that it's important that we do so because some people were very kind and very good and gave us support. Why shouldn't we give them support back? And I would love to do so if I can just find the the there we go. We're getting there bit by bit. I think we're getting there. It's so.
When you've missed the train, don't despair. Have a nice cup of coffee. And perhaps a mince pie. At the runaway on Lewis Station. After that, why worry about the next train? The runaway on Lewis Station. Relaxation beyond compare.
I know. One of the things that we have hammered home here on Mirador television is that things are not going to be the same post COVID. That life is going to change quite dramatically. And I suspect that is absolutely right because in the year of lockdown, We've had to alter our habits and so on and so forth. I mean, there are some things that are quite disturbing. The rise in crime. And there was a knifing in Eastbourne on Saturday night. And the whole of civil society is under threat from naughty people who think that violence is the answer. Nowhere at the moment more so than in Northern Ireland, where the youngsters who feel that they have been let down, whether that's the truth or not is beside the point. They feel that they've been let down. That's their perception. And what they've done is, in time-honoured manner, they've gone onto the streets and they've thrown petrol bombs and they've burned and they've looted and tried to turn the clock back for Northern Ireland. And there is huge suspicion, of course, is that the paramilitaries that never go away have fueled this to see if it gives them a platform to be as powerful as they were prior to the Good Friday Agreement. So that's disturbing, but also just in general, our life has become much more violent, and that probably is going to stay with us. The other thing is, it's quite remarkable. At one time, robbers and thieves would target shops such as jewelry shops and places where there's large amounts of cash. Not anymore. They kidnap dogs and then sell them on because apparently you get the right breed, you can make quite a lot of money out of it because of their value. So there we are. Napping has become something of the norm. And if you've got an animal, be careful. Don't. One time it was don't let your children out onto the street because it's not safe. Now it's don't let your dog out onto the street, or be careful when you're actually taking them along for a walk because all sorts of naughty people are kidnapping dogs. But turning back to the coverage of Prince Philip's death, is the BBC got 100,000 complaints about their coverage, and they lost huge audiences who wanted to actually watch things like Gogglebox and other, facile programs. Good fun. I'm not knocking them, but I mean they hardly challenge the intellect. And basically, huge amounts of people who either complained verbally or used their feet and marched in the opposite direction said it was far too much. And that's a big change in itself because in 1953, the nation stopped to the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. And in fact, it wasn't too much different for the wedding of Diana to Prince Charles. All in all, we are slowly finding that the soft, soppy entertainment is much more preferable to those state occasions that we enjoy. The odd thing is that we are turning away from some of these things. We're turning away from our pomp and ceremony, but it's still one of the best sellers overseas. Everybody else loves it. We stop using telephone boxes. God, there's an outcry internationally. We have to keep some. We paint our buses a different color to red, and the world stops. Do away with our pomp and our ceremony, and I think that the 100,000 complaints to the BBC would pale into insignificance once we realise that the overseas just love the sort of thing that we have, and we do. So I don't pay too much attention to these figures, except that for any broadcaster, including the BBC, which is not commercial, of course, is that the loss of 20 or 30% of your audience is tragic. I mean, a loss of 20 or 30% for us would be absolutely devastating, even though we come from a small base at the moment. But every day it's growing. Prior to lockdown, this latest lockdown, the one that was devastating, is lockdown 3 that really has been the baddie, is that lockdown has caused us a great deal of problem. We were nudging 15,000 viewers locally, 3,000 internationally when that lockdown came. And of course, because we had to retrench and we couldn't make some of the programs that we were making, as we gone right back to more or less this program to keep us going, and then starting to build slowly but surely back to where we want to go. And it just knocked our audience for six. I'm happy to say that loyalty and fealty and the fact that some people quite like what we do is our audiences are beginning to nudge back up. And Stephen Catlin is finding an average of 8,000 of 1,000 viewers for his program, and overall we are nudging a 2,000 average, which means that if we put it together, probably we're back to 5,000 or 6,000 people viewing, and that's very satisfactory. And it's not that we fight for that viewership; it's that we seem to be offering to you what you want, even if it's me being a loudmouth and Paul Fowl, trying hard to shut me up. Paul Miles, by the way, was a great favourite around Lewis. He's gone to live in, I think it's Falmouth, where he keeps a boat. But Paul Miles was headed up a number of things, not least of which was in 2000 the return of the Kiss, the Rodin statue that in the early part of the last century, in 1913, 1914, there caused such a stir in Lewis because a lady complained to the authorities that it was obscene. Well, it's erotic, yeah, it's not obscene. And but she persuaded them. there is one, I can remember seeing one famous photograph that Reeves had taken because they've got a great history of Lewis, and they show it once a year by demonstrating the pictures in various people's shops. And I can remember that there is a picture of the troops there with a cloth that's put over the Kiss, which actually was standing in somewhere in the town hall during the First World War, just so that you wouldn't get the troops all excited before they went off to the trenches. There we are. Those are the sort of things that change. I think that we had better now just take a run through because it's 27 minutes past. We're almost ready to go. Let's see what we talked about this morning.
It's a sunny day at the moment in Lewis, just when one thought the Lewis work from homers would be out in the outdoor coffee areas, doing their work, of course, certainly not socializing and talking on Facebook. But no, two of the very big ones in Brighthall, Fuego and Hickson Green, are not open. Now, the notice on Fuego says open on the 3rd of opening on the 3rd of December, omitting to say which year. But I hear that it will reopen on the 17th of May. That's Fuego. Hickson Green is a law unto itself, as frequenters of the place know only too well. The fascia sign has been taken down, and there is no indication of when it will reopen or even if. Otherwise, it's nice to see queues outside the shop, almost as though food rationing and clothes rationing has come back in. Anyway, life is, well, I won't say it's returning to normal, because I get very much the impression that the mood of the country has changed, and things to which we used to defer are not those which affect us so much anymore, because during this 18-month or so period, we have had our own problems which are consuming our thoughts. Anyway, moving swiftly on, as much as one can when one reaches advanced years, but it's interesting to note that Lewis District Council is as evasive as ever in answering questions. There was a great announcement in the local newspaper a couple of weeks or so ago about a £1 million investment in a solar farm and all the rest of it. So I wrote to the lead member at the district council asking if one may, since one pays one's council tax, be privileged to know where it will be. No answer. And that was a week ago. And I also asked what happened to the Ovesco scheme pre-2016 to have a powerhouse in Mountfield Road, Lewis, connected with the Priory School and the college. Government money was invested in it, but what actually happened was my answer, was my question. Do you know, they haven't even told me that. Same time, public toilets in Pinwell Road seem not to be open, and they don't seem to have been open for a few days. So I wrote to the relevant department at the district council asking for information. Yeah, stock reply, or we haven't enough full staff at the moment. No, but there is no lessening of our charges because of that, is there? So generally, I have a feeling of disappointment that the world has changed, but sadly our expectations of it have not kept pace with the changes. I will leave you with that thought and hope the week gets better for all of us. Thanks for your time. Goodbye now.
There we go. No, final word from Stephen. It is 31 minutes past 8 o'clock. I'm allowing us to go over just a little bit because we started late, which was my fault. It normally is. Then, as they say, the buck stops here. So ultimately, everything is my fault if it goes wrong. So I might as well be square shoulders and take it on the chin this morning. Let's just take one last look at Lewis through the camera lens of Susan Harris before we go. Lovely, lovely, Lewis. Okay, that's it for today. Paul Fowle will be back on Thursday if he's recovered sufficiently. He felt that he would. And tomorrow we introduce a new member of the team, a lovely lady called Terry, who has contributed stuff before, in as much as she looks after, from Lewis, believe it or not, a group of mentally challenged youngsters in New York who appeared on our program a couple of months ago. Very spirited people they are, and a very spirited lady she is. But she also has uncovered one or two special people in Lewis. So Terry's Pick and Mix will launch tomorrow. But the first thing is that we will actually talk to her on the program to find out who she is, what makes her tick, and where she wants to take things. So until tomorrow, what shall we go out with? Because we'll go out with the whole damn thing, because it's nice that people should know who we are, and we are beginning to climb back. We never close. People still say what or who is Mirador, but bit by bit the message is getting through. So this is who we are, and a very good toodle pip to you. And we know that things are getting back to normal because there is a news item this morning. A draw was declared between Lancashire and Sussex on the cricket pitch because rain stopped play. Oh no! Everything that happens is nothing changes when it comes to sport, cricket, and the weather.